What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you for standing up for something you believe in? Have you lost your job? What about you and members of your family all losing your job for something you believed in? Welcome to Belarus. Greetings. This is The Hardest Word. I'm Brett DeHoot.
Good day to you. I hope you are doing well. This is the story of ordinary Belarusian, the same as thousands and millions of others. Belarus is a small country in the center of Europe. We are a small country, but we love our homeland very much. I was born and raised in the Republic of Belarus. I graduated from college and then university. I have a higher education. At the age of 20, I got a job at an agriculture machinery factory where my father used to work. Now mother, brother and cousin working there. Belarusian cities are small and there are not many companies with vacancies. As a rule, in each city there is a plant or factory built during the Soviet era, which gives work to the townspeople. Several years ago, events took place that shocked the whole world. The heart of every Belarusian was bleeding for the suffering of relatives and friends who have become hostages of the terrible regime of Alexander Lukashenko. After the events that took place in August 2020, like many active compatriots, I couldn't come to terms with the fact that citizen Lukashenko declared himself the master of the country. I, like many Belarusians, went out in the streets with flags, songs, banners, and a desire to change the world for the better. There were many of us. We believed that together we're strong. We have never felt like one whole before. We have never identified ourselves as a strong and free nation. Never before have Belarusians had so much faith that everything can change for the better. They beat us. The best and most visible of us were sent to prisons. The most freedom-loving were beaten to teach a lesson in obedience to the rest. In every plant and factory, people gathered in groups and tried to organize strikes. Trade unions were inactive. Trade unions in Belarus are subordinate to the authorities. Everyone knew that. My comrades and I were faced with the choice: stand aside and calmly observe or protest. If you don't protest, then you will be relatively safe. Deep down, we knew that the choices we had could have bad consequences. We choose the path of protests. Belarusians are a peaceful nation. We do not take up arms, but Belarusian people were not going to kneel. In the courtyards of residential buildings, gangs of military men walked and beat those who gathered in groups. Militia units patrolled the cities and looked for those who wore symbols different from the pro-government ones. Every week there were reports of someone being beaten to death. People were raped in prisons. People were tortured with electric shocks. Videos with terrible things that happened at that time and continue to happen now have already spread all over the world. Now the world community knows what was happening. Then we were one-on-one against the authorities. My friend and I came to the factory bosses with a demand to stop work, with a demand to go on strike. We wanted to stop violence. At the time of the events, I was working as a middle manager. There were people reporting to me who were also unhappy with the situation. We went to the director of the plant and asked him not to be indifferent to what was happening. But the director of the plant is not interested in the fate of people. The big boss nodded his head. He said that he also doesn't accept violence, but he cannot and will not do anything. And that's all. And we left. We knew we hadn't done enough. We have done very little. We haven't done anything meaningful. We only made things worse for ourselves. The pathetic cope attempts ended in nothing. We just walked away like beaten dogs. We tried to crush the regime as best we could. We went to rallies, we supported those who were in prison, but that was not enough. We all understood that the protest was suffocating But at the same time, we understood that nothing couldn't be changed. Hopelessness, apathy. Each of us wondered, what I did wrong? Where did you need to put more effort? Time passed, but the mood of the people didn't change. Every day the regime opposed the Belarusian people more and more. Every day we were reported that somewhere someone had been imprisoned or killed. It was like that the last books about Harry Potter and the one who shouldn't be named, the KGB, State Security Committee, every day sent list of factories and factories with a list of those who were not pleasing to the regime. Those who were on the lists were fired. Factory bosses also tried to keep up and fired workers who were still in protest moods. Time passed, but while we tried to fight back, the power hit us. As recently as a month ago, I was fired from the factory where I worked. I was fired for political views and for the very attempt at a strike that I made. And then my mother and brother were fired. Thanks to the regime, my whole family was left without work and money. We have to understand that in Belarus there is no other job except for the state. There is no private businesses here anymore. If you get fired, then you become unemployed forever, and very soon homeless. Losing a job is worse than going to jail. That's why hundreds and thousands of Belarusians emerged to Poland and Ukraine. I would like to apologize. Sorry, Mom, for doing this, and now we are all unemployed. Or from the other side, forgive me for doing so little and we didn't win. I just want to believe that the time will come and we will win, whatever the cost of us. This is the story of an ordinary Belarusian. Thank you for listening. For me, as for all my free people, this is very important through it is just me telling you my little story.
We've just heard from a young man who's trapped in a country that is one of the few to support Putin, that is poor with such limited opportunities, and yet he wanted to at least stand for something. And that stand he almost took and did take has cost him and his family greatly. It is very easy from my comfortable life in the democratic West to forget just how high the stakes are for ordinary, everyday people who find themselves, as always, in circumstances over which they have no control. Well, it's time to bring this whole sorry business to a close. On behalf of our audio director, Brian Wallace, and me, your host, Brett DeHoot, thanks for listening. The website, thehardestwordpodcast.com. Farewell.